This video is sponsored by Squarespace. When American astronaut Scott Kelly spent a year at the International Space Station in 2015 and 2016, his heart shrank by 25% in mass, according to a study published this year. Without the pull of gravity, the heart doesn't have to pump as hard. Studies like these are being done as space opens up to more people who will journey deeper into the solar system. Space travel is hard on the body. For every month of flight, you lose about 1.5% of bone density, according to NASA. Bones don't have to support the body against gravity. The farther you are from Earth, the weaker the gravitational force. For longer trips, say going to Mars, which takes about 6 months each way, that would mean losing roughly 10% of your total bone density. Your weaker bones would be more prone to fractures. After spending half a year in space, recovery could take 3 to 4 years. The best way to build up bone mass is to do weight-bearing exercises in which your bones support your weight, like tennis, skip rope, or jogging. Running on a treadmill at the ISS is a little different as astronauts have to strap themselves in. Despite the effort, you'll likely only be able to slow down the rate of bone loss, not prevent it altogether. Artificial gravity could help. A proposed private space hotel, called Voyager, is designed to spin slowly to mimic the effects of a gravitational force. Besides losing bone density, muscles can weaken from lack of use and deteriorate. Research from previous missions shows astronauts lose up to 20% of muscle mass on flights lasting less than 2 weeks. Many astronauts also report back pain, as weakened muscles provide less support for the spine. In order to combat muscle loss, a machine called an ARED imitates weightlifting to work all the major muscle groups and decrease the recovery time later. Though again, it doesn't get better right away once astronauts return to Earth. They're at a much higher risk of a herniated disc. The lack of gravity is also problematic for the cardiovascular system, since there's nothing to pull blood to the lower part of the body. Instead, it goes to the chest and head, causing astronauts to have puffy faces and bulging blood vessels in their necks. Canadian researchers have discovered that this chronic increase in blood pressure to the head and neck can result in stiffer arteries, in which a 6-month mission is similar to aging 10 to 20 years on Earth. NASA requires aspiring astronauts to have a blood pressure reading of no more than 140/90 measured in a sitting position. They'll also have to pass physical tests in a swimming pool, the best place to simulate the feeling of weightlessness in space. Candidates have to swim 3 laps of a 25-meter pool nonstop, which doesn't sound that difficult, but then they have to repeat it, this time wearing a blue flight suit and tennis shoes, and then tread water for 10 minutes. However, being physically fit won't protect against the very serious threat of radiation. We're protected from some of the most dangerous rays and particles because of Earth's magnetic field. But beyond low Earth orbit is a world teeming with radiation, which is measured using millisievert. 1 millisievert is the equivalent of about 3 chest X-rays. A 6-month trip to the ISS or the Moon exposes astronauts to doses ranging from 50 to 2,000 millisieverts. That would be like having 150 to 6,000 chest X-rays. And it's ionizing radiation. It can destroy cells and damage DNA, increasing the risk of cancer and degenerative diseases. Protecting against radiation on the Moon or Mars means building habitats with reliable shielding. But in transit, you're only protected by what's around you. A strategy tested by NASA's space radiation specialists involves crew members barricading themselves with stowage bags. Other techniques being developed include wearable vests that add another layer of mass and electrically charged surfaces that can deflect these dangerous particles. Exposure to radiation experienced by Scott Kelly is believed to have activated certain genes known to encode proteins that help fix damaged DNA. Researchers gleaned all of this information by comparing Scott to his identical twin Mark, also an astronaut, who remained on Earth as the control subject. The stresses of being in orbit appear to have altered Scott's immune system, worsened his eyesight, and oddly lengthened the caps at the ends of his DNA strands called telomeres. These protect chromosomes, kind of like how plastic handles protect jump ropes. Usually they shorten as we age. The strange lengthening disappeared a few days after he returned to Earth. However, 7% of his gene expression still remained altered 6 months later. More research is now being done to study the lasting impact of space travel on our bodies. Not to mention, there are behavioral effects of being restricted to a spacecraft for a long period of time. To make astronauts feel a little less isolated, they got internet access on the ISS a decade ago. Being able to go online and access websites is a crucial way of communicating these days, which brings me to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Whether you want to grow your business, start a blog, or showcase your work, you can easily create a site on Squarespace without any experience in website building. That's what I did. I used Squarespace to create my website for Newsthink. You can try building a site for free by heading to squarespace.com/newsthink. The link is in my description. And when you're ready to launch, be sure to use my promo code Newsthink to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Palm.